Mauricio Umansky, the charismatic real estate mogul, loving father, and longtime husband to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Kyle Richards, has always been known for his charm, confidence, and devotion to his family. For decades, their marriage stood as one of Bravo's strongest love stories. From lavish family trips to heartfelt moments on screen, Mauricio and Kyle seem to have what every Hollywood couple dreams of: love, stability, and partnership amid the chaos of fame. Their story began long before cameras ever rolled. Kyle, already a familiar face in Beverly Hills circles, met Mauricio at a time when both were chasing dreams, hers in entertainment, his in real estate. Together, they built an empire, not just of luxury listings and celebrity clients, but of shared values, laughter, and unconditional support. But as the world would come to see, even the brightest love stories can face shadows no one expects. Soft transition sound. By 2023, whispers of trouble began to surface. Fans noticed the subtle changes: the distance, the absence of wedding rings, the emotional tension that no camera could fully hide. At first, both Mauricio and Kyle brushed off the rumors. They spoke of growing pains, of life changes, and of working things out. But behind closed doors, their reality was far more complicated. Mauricio, known for his relentless work ethic, had built the agency into one of the most successful luxury real estate firms in the world. His schedule was nonstop: deals, travel, appearances, and the constant pressure of being both boss and brand. Kyle, meanwhile, was rediscovering herself, focusing on health, independence, and a new phase of personal growth. Two people, both driven and evolving, but perhaps evolving in different directions. As weeks turned into months, it became clear that the emotional distance between them was growing. Mauricio, once the calm center of the Richards family, began showing signs of strain. Those close to him revealed that he often spoke about feeling disconnected, as though the life he'd built was slipping away despite his best efforts. He poured himself into work, hoping that success might somehow ease the ache of uncertainty at home. But the more he tried to fix things externally, the more internal cracks began to show. Kyle, on her side, struggled with conflicting emotions. She loved Mauricio deeply, the father of her children, the man who stood by her through fame, loss, and chaos. Yet she also felt an undeniable pull towards self-discovery. For the first time in years, she was prioritizing herself, her mental health, her peace, and her identity outside of marriage. In a moment of rare vulnerability, Mauricio opened up publicly about what he'd been going through. He admitted that the separation had been one of the hardest experiences of his life, a period filled with reflection, pain, and unexpected growth. He spoke not with bitterness, but with sincerity. "I'll always love Kyle," he said during an interview, his voice breaking slightly. "She's the mother of my children, and no matter what happens between us, that bond will never fade." Those words touched millions who had followed their journey for over 25 years. Behind the glitz and drama of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, here was something real: heartbreak, humility, and humanity. Sources close to the couple revealed that their separation wasn't about anger or betrayal, but about two people trying to find peace in the midst of overwhelming change. Mauricio had confessed to friends that fame, business pressures, and public expectations often blurred the line between who he was as a husband and who he was as a public figure. He began reflecting on his life not in terms of what he'd achieved, but what he might have lost along the way. One friend described Mauricio as a man learning how to be alone for the first time in decades. He missed the morning coffee conversations, the laughter in their home, and the quiet moments that fame could never replicate. For Kyle, this chapter became about strength and resilience. She never spoke ill of Mauricio, even when speculation swirled online. Instead, she focused on gratitude for the years they shared, for the family they built, and for the lessons they both had to learn. And for Mauricio, that same gratitude became his guiding light. He began spending more time with his daughters, reflecting on what truly matters. Even as paparazzi followed him through Los Angeles, the man once defined by his success began showing a softer, more introspective side. In many ways, Mauricio's journey mirrors what so many people experience, but rarely talk about: the pain of change, the fear of letting go, and the courage it takes to begin again. It's easy to see the glamour of Beverly Hills, the red carpets, and the luxury homes. After months of silence, Mauricio Umansky finally began to let people see the man behind the smile. Gone were the glamorous parties and red carpets. In their place were quiet nights, deep talks with friends, and long walks that helped him make sense of everything that had changed. He once said that his greatest challenge wasn't losing love. It was learning how to exist without the rhythm that love gave his life. For over 2 decades, Kyle had been part of every major decision, every celebration, every heartbreak. Now, there was only the sound of his own thoughts, and that silence was louder than any argument could ever be. Sources close to Mauricio say that he spent those early months focusing on reflection rather than reaction. Instead of seeking distractions, he embraced the discomfort. He began therapy, journaling, and even meditating, something he once admitted he never believed in until life forced him to slow down. He realized that somewhere along the way, he had become so busy chasing success that he forgot what stillness felt like. The pressure to be the perfect husband, father, and businessman had left little room for Mauricio to simply be Mauricio. And now, as he started to face his fears, he was learning who he was outside of the image everyone expected him to be. Soft transition tone. Distant sounds of city life fade in. Meanwhile, Kyle Richards was walking her own emotional path. Though fans speculated endlessly about her every move, those close to her say that her heart was heavy but full of respect. She never spoke negatively about Mauricio. Instead, she described their journey as a long story filled with love, laughter, and lessons. Friends say that when Kyle looks back, she doesn't see a failed marriage. She sees 2 people who grew, loved deeply, and then evolved into different versions of themselves. She often reminded those around her that healing isn't about forgetting, it's about accepting the story for what it was. And even through the uncertainty, she and Mauricio remained connected, not just through their children, but through genuine care and friendship. They still shared family dinners, supported each other's milestones, and spoke with a warmth that proved love doesn't always end. Sometimes it just changes shape. For Mauricio, this period became a quiet transformation. He began focusing not just on business growth, but on personal growth. He shared glimpses of his journey on social media, sunsets, moments of reflection, messages about gratitude. In one particularly heartfelt post, he wrote, "Sometimes you lose what you thought you needed, only to realize it's giving you space to become who you're meant to be." Fans flooded the comments with support, many saying they related to his message. Suddenly, Mauricio wasn't just a luxury real estate tycoon. He was a man representing resilience, vulnerability, and rebirth. He also found peace in spending more time with his daughters. Whether it was family vacations, dinners at home, or quiet afternoons by the beach, Mauricio made it clear that fatherhood was now his greatest priority. Those moments reminded him of what truly mattered: love in its purest, simplest form. Friends say that his relationship with his children grew stronger than ever. They became his support system, grounding him through the emotional waves that came and went. As Mauricio began to rebuild, career opportunities also followed. He leaned into his role on Buying Beverly Hills, using the platform to show a more authentic version of himself. Viewers saw not just the polished businessman, but the man behind the brand, someone who had weathered heartbreak yet stood tall, still believing in love, still believing in life. His openness became his strength. Gone was the need to appear perfect. In its place was honesty, raw, unfiltered, and deeply human. And as Kyle continued to evolve in her own way, focusing on family, fitness, and emotional wellness, both began to reflect what growth after heartbreak really looks like. They had learned that sometimes the most loving thing two people can do is allow each other the freedom to change. The world of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills often thrives on drama, luxury, and rivalry. But what Mauricio and Kyle showed, beyond the headlines and speculation, was something rare: maturity, grace, and mutual respect in the face of pain. Even after everything, they've continued to publicly support each other, proof that real love doesn't always vanish. Sometimes it simply evolves into something more peaceful, more grounded, more real. And in that sense, their story may not be a tragedy at all, but a quiet triumph.